Fate Extella Link originally came out in 2018, although 2019 worldwide, and it's supposed to be the direct sequel Umbral Star. I say it's supposed to be because it apparently doesn't even acknowledge it, but everything swears up and down it takes place right after. So who really knows? The answer? Not me. This is the first Fate thing I've ever interacted with. The main premise is that the artificial world of Seraph is being attacked by someone trying to mind control all of the servants in a process being called oracalization, and the protagonist is saved by a new servant named Charlemagne. So now it's up to you and Charlemagne to work with the servants or to figure out what's going on, recruit more servants to the cause, and also learn more about Charlemagne because he knows more than he's letting on. One thing I do appreciate, even if I know for a more experienced person it's probably going to become kind of stupid, but is the fact that the characters do take time to establish parts of the world or terms and stuff that's very important, considering that, well, someone like me is the first time playing anything with Fate. I appreciate being able to understand what's going on, but the way it's phrased, I understand people get frustrated that characters are kind of explaining information they should already know, or in some cases highlighting information that's super important, like servants not saying their true name, in a game where everyone constantly spouts their true name and everything, kind of make that big emphasis pointless in a sense, but clearly it's for people like me who don't know that setting works. A choice that I don't understand what they go for the narrative is that there are branches all over the story, with there being different events that happen based on choices. The reason I don't understand this idea is because based on your branches, you may just get the most underwhelming, barely even there narrative possible because of the choices you made, which I got on my first run, where I learned little to nothing and went, well, that was certainly a thing that happened, only to find out all the more important, interesting information happened on routes that I ended up not picking. And you can go back and do it, and are encouraged to do so, since every stage is different bosses stuff, different stuff goes on, and you recruit different servants. But to specify, you recruit them, because for some reason in this game, despite the story handing you plenty of servants to choose from, they're not truly unlocked unless you've done their story scenario first. So I had several characters that vanished after I beat the story because apparently I didn't truly unlock them yet, which is another reason why you want to do every single story blip, even if the game gives you the choice to just do certain ones, because that's how you unlock all the servants to use. Even characters who only appear in the story for 5 seconds get recruited somehow, or at least they're selectable, so I guess they're recruited in a sense. You also have this little hub area where you can talk with the servants, but this hub area is kind of pointless because the servants don't have anything to really say or anything. There's barely a conversation feature and everything. Now I hope that the cutscenes are portrayed in this visual novel style, which isn't a problem. It's the fact that everyone is portrayed by portraits that only alters like their face to highlight different emotions and nothing else. They're continually doing the exact same pose the entire time, regardless of the context. Although one cool detail is that we switch costumes on them, then their portrait changes to match that costume, which is a level of detail I didn't expect. But like I said, the portraits don't really change the style for their faces. So that's more reason why you want to do all the alternate options to get more information, learn more about each servant, since the ones you do to unlock them revolves around them. Although strangely, I can't get over this, the fact that I managed to beat this game's story mode fully, and one of the characters I lost was the servant Astolfo, even though he's in many story scenes, even ones that are hidden away, and yet somehow the game said I didn't unlock him because I didn't do the specific one that revolved around him. And it's like, how did I get him? He was literally everywhere in what I did, but also not enough. Hence why the unlock method is a bit weird when the game just hands you servants. Like servants whose story you didn't see will just show up as characters you can select in the story mode without any sort of fanfare or anything. So I don't know, just a weird structure that I would prefer. They would just basically either a more linear told story, or instead they go with what they blatantly prefer as the true outcome. Overall, the writing's fine, it's far from anything bad, it's just weirdly told because of the structure, and also then the more blatant, now here's the more quote-unquote true pathway option that gets more to the point, though it does have its own split, and you do understand fully what exactly is going on, to the point where I question why have the other two endings to even be there, but I guess that means more story missions. We can have the servants be more the star, even if the story mode feels like it just repeatedly has you fight against the same opponents multiple times. Now for the gameplay, which it plays like a Musou, although I've seen some specifically compare it to the Samurai Warrior specifically. By the way, you fight a lot of enemies, and you do base capturing, with this game emphasizing speed. Hell, there's not even any hallways, you just immediately zoom to the next fort. Although I don't like the fact that some of those zoom points have like this little small platform to pick different directions with that small platform. Kind of defeats the point of having the player just zoom around fast, but it just constantly feels like the level design is way more basic, but this game wants you to keep going and going and going. And I don't mean going kill a lot of enemies, I mean just going, period, because you can capture bases relatively fast, everything, especially with certain characters who just have really useful skills that they can use. You also have a moon drive ability, which temporarily makes your character stronger and gives you a drive skill. And then you have the character's ultimates, the noble phantasms, which, like I lie, requires a lot of effort to use them, and not fully sure they're worth the amount of effort they go for. I know they attack an entire fort at once, but with how mobile your characters are, you can kind of just do that yourself in way faster time, and not have to deal with a meter that feels finicky to even fill up. Although to note, the character Jeanne of Arc's Noble Phantasm comes with the warning that it will essentially kill her if you use it, and from what I've seen, he's like the only character who has that asterisk with her Noble Phantasm, and when seeing what the animation is, Time Moon, what's wrong with you? The fact that Jeanne of Arc's Noble Phantasm kills her before it counts the game as killing your opponent, meaning even when I used it one time to finish a mission to see what it's like, the game still counts that I needed to revive her first before the mission actually concluded, even though I technically won. Oh my god, what is the point of this Noble Phantasm aside for some twisted punchline? You also have essentially a mini item crafting system that can carry items for the servants to use, such as being able to quick heal or buffs and stuff like that. So you also have that, so you can use your repertoire, and you also have the protagonist who can use the command seals, with you having three options. One allowing you to teleport your servant to anywhere on the map that's available, which is such a great option to put in, that is awesome. Another one will allow you to revive the servant, which one game, I don't think anyone's dying in this game unless they're playing Jeanne of Arc and use your Noble Phantasm. And one that allows you to just basically have the servant be fully maxed out. That one I never use because, well, there's just no reason to use all your command seals just for that one. While there are several things that can happen on the maps to pretty much spice things up, like, ooh, sometimes you can't see what the map looks like, or sometimes there'll be a servant that'll be attacking the protagonist directly, you have to press stop to that before their HP goes down. Sometimes a character will get kidnapped to find who took them. There's plenty of stuff the game has. The problem is, it kind of just abuses the same ones over and over. Like, it will constantly abuse the, oh no, Francis Drake is shooting at the protagonist, put a stop to that, or oh no, Tamamo has nerfed your entire army, or oh no, the monosectors are buffing an enemy, better take them out, or just take out the servant themselves because honestly their buffs aren't that big. Stuff like that where it's like, there's a lot of variety. I was surprised when I saw one, for example, an assassin who used a stealth ability. You have to actually look very closely to see where they're hiding and stuff like that, where it's like, that's a very cool way of using that and making it unique for that class of servant. But like I said, the game mostly focuses on the attempts to just instantly game over you by taking out the protagonist. And only one time I've ever seen where someone tried to kidnap the protagonist themselves, where the game said, hey, be careful because now they can't revive you. And remember, I'm going to use a rival to begin with, game. Now, using the plot's idea of brainwashing and also making duplicates of servants, they do use that to the benefit of trying to have more variety in who you're going after in the story scenarios, but it also doesn't do much because they only last for, let's say, one mission, a game that has like 30 missions or so. So they generally tend to default to the same servants over and over and over you're going against. I'm tired of saying Francis Drake, oh my god, make it stop. So, despite the variety in the cast, it feels like you won't see them often enough, really, for the story mode. Even the story mode's not that long, but you also have the extra missions as well, which some of them are just harder version of story mode. Why? The story modes have easy, normal, hard, very hard variants. Why add an EX version on top of that? But there are some that are wholly unique scenarios that can also unlock bonuses like costumes if you do them, which is very cool. Unlocking an Astolfo costume is how I found out Astolfo was gone from my roster. You also have a gallery that keeps up with information constantly being updated, although I wish the text on screen did constantly remind me that it's being updated for every single minute thing that possibly happens in this game. Oh my god, please put the text away, kind of thing. But it is a handy thing to have there. It lets you replay the cutscene if you want, or look up information on the servants if you want to know more about them, which is neat, going like, hey, the story mode doesn't do enough for you, here's like a glossary of information for them. That's a nice little bonus. There's also a setting to where you can make it so the story mode only gives you access to servants that you have unlocked for the story section, or all servants you have unlocked, period. And honestly, I don't really know why I just picked the latter. Like, the story mode gives you so many servants so fast that it basically doesn't make a point. Characters will just show up with no fanfare at points, so might as well just have access to everybody, especially since some characters, like I said, only exist in the story for 5 seconds and they immediately leave. While on the maps, you also have these team-up mechanics, kind of, because you can't swap characters in the middle of the map, unlike other Musou games that generally start able to do. You also can't command them where to go because they generally will have their own mission and what they need to do, so you can't do that. But if you happen to be in the same fort as them, then you're able to do team-up attacks that still require setup, so the team-up mechanic is just very underutilized. You do have the support troops that, if you increase their bond, will do more and more bonuses. Once again, they only do stuff like occasionally defend you from an attack, or occasionally do an extra attack at most, from what I've seen, and most of your team-up comes from if you and another servant are in the same fort. Otherwise, you might as well just be there by yourself, and I just wish more was done with the support system or team-ups in any way. It feels just kind of slapped in without much thought whatsoever, to a point where it's like you're basically just a one-person army with no one else. Occasionally there'll be missions where it's like escort this person, but from what I've seen, the AI for your ally servants are so well, they sometimes don't even need your protection unless there's something like, oh, the enemy servant's being boosted by a monosector or something like that. Otherwise, they can just get through just fine. But one thing I do want to shout out is the fact that the map on the screen tells you all the information you need to know. If a teammate's struggling, it will show you their HP bar at all times. It'll tell you exactly where an enemy servant is to take them out in order to stop whatever area of effect they're doing. It tells you so much information that is so handy to have at a moment's notice, and I am very thankful that's actually a thing, and it's very cool. Also lets me know exactly when, okay, I need to hop in right now in order to protect one of my allies. Like I said, with the command seal system, you can have your servant immediately teleport to that situation and immediately help. It also keeps on screen where the enemy is going as well, so you generally know what they're doing, unless they do something like signal jamming, or like to mention the assassin types, who will just be hiding, so it'll give you a general idea of where they might be. If it's someone in disguise, it'll give you, hey, here's one of the 3 copies, but you don't know which one's the real one. And I appreciate the fact that you don't have to KO them to find out if it's a fake. It's a deal enough damage, and the game will say, okay, this was a fake, giving you time to immediately turn around and go somewhere else. What I'm down to say with this gameplay is the fact that just as competent your ally servants are, these enemy servants are also pretty competent when it comes to taking over forts, everything. Like, they can do that generally fast, or there are times where the scenario will just be like, hey, they got reinforcements, which means the game will just automatically hand them forts that you already conquered, and it's like, it's become a dick move. It's just like, hey, I got all the forts, and the game's like, no, you didn't, and it's like, oh, I gotta go back again, especially since you are ranked in every mission, but the one for the forts will basically always require for the highest rank you need all the forts taken over, and there are times where I swear you can accidentally KO the enemy captain before you got rid of all of the aggressors that mark when you capture a fort, and the game will be like, nope, you captured almost all the forts, so you don't get the highest ranking. Which you do because you get more rewards for doing so and everything, more things to craft, more powerful version of things to craft, and more install skills. Install skills being these passive buffs you can add to the characters, although if their bond is higher, you can equip more and more, and these things do also rank up as the game goes on, so get them equipped, especially the one that increases EXP. Oh my god, why would you not want that one? Although I will say there are way too many for this game's own good, of so many varying types that some of them are so specific that I can't even imagine using the majority of these things. As for the game's text, I do like it overall, especially the map text that can get across so much information despite the size of the map, and making sure you're informed of what's going on at all times, especially for a Musou game where you need information at a moment's notice. However, the 2 big outliers would be the fact that there's no subtitles when a servant first shows up on a map, which, okay, it isn't that bad since they don't really have much to say, but like, you're gonna have a Japanese only dub with no English dub whatsoever. You kind of need to subtitle everything the characters are saying, and the biggest culprit being the freaking tiny text whenever the protagonist has a mental monologue. This is their main way of communicating with the characters and giving their thoughts on things, and for some reason it's done in a completely different style from everyone else, and it's way too tiny for some reason. I don't get why. I mean, I get the idea of, oh, Fate Stay Night is a visual novel, so the character thinks some stuff in style of the visual novel, or you could turn off the main character's voice, it could be more how you imagine them, but a game of characters talk constantly and everything, having this completely different style makes no sense. Overall, while I do like Extella Link, it just feels like it doesn't fully live up to the potential it has. The teal mechanics just feel so shallow and very situational to the point where they might as well not even exist. The support troop mechanic just kind of exists. Even the side missions you have just kind of exist, where it's just, hey, do this little challenge and this servant may like you a bit more, and that's about it. Like, stuff like that could have been done more, and while there is variety in weapons in the maps, it can feel like there's not much variety with how often the games will just use the same ones over and over. And I wish the unlock conditions for servants weren't so weird, where they will give you access to servants but then revoke them later because you technically didn't actually recruit them. Sure, they joined you, sure, they acknowledged joining you, sure, you did missions with them and everything and they're in the cutscenes, but apparently they didn't actually join you, so you have to go back and do their specific story mission in order to unlock them, which is just a weird aspect of the game. But like I said, I enjoyed this game, and that's it, just a fun Musou game. Not as great as people make it out to be, at least the way from see people react to saying this quote-unquote one of the best or the best Musou game. Like, nah, there are other Musou games that put over this one. By the way, That is all. Good day.